Welcome to the Evil Dungeon Master universe. I am your host, the Evil Dungeon Master Vince, and I have a special guest sitting alongside of me today, DM Rivers. DM Rivers, how you doing today, man?
All right. How about yourself?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate that. You can check out DM Rivers at the Rivers RPG channel on YouTube. So just youtube.com at Rivers RPG channel for his own YouTube channel where you could see all his videos of miniatures and D&D and stuff like that he's doing right now. So I suggest you go over there and subscribe now. I'll wait. All right. Thank you for subscribing. No, I'm kidding. So today we're going to take a look at the Unearthed Arcana. And what are we going to talk about today, Mr. Rivers?
The Cavalier. It's a class that I think was underplayed, but probably for good reasons.
Yeah.
It's a tough class to get.
It's a tough class to get, and some of the rules for this class kind of, I don't know, in some situations make me think of the stereotypical lawful stupid.
Yes.
All the time I think of that when I think of Cavaliers. I had a Cavalier that we were just, my buddy played a Paladin and I played a Cavalier, and we were just played it up to lawful stupid the max. We broke a DM because it was, we shouldn't have done it. It was our first time DMing, and she's like, Seekyum, and we're like, we need to find Seekyum. We were running around the castle going, Seekyum, where are you? And she's just like, didn't know how to handle us, and then we had to stop when we realized that we broke her. So,
oh my,
yeah,
because it's, to me, it's the epitome of the 3.5 classes. Oh geez,
yeah. So to qualify for this, you need at least a 15 strength, dexterity, constitution, and an intelligence of 10 and a wisdom of 10.
Yeah, so it doesn't leave them a lot of room for error.
No, there's not a lot of wiggle room, and you have to be lawful good, neutral good, or chaotic good. You know what? I've looked at this class like 1,000 times, and I've played this class a bunch of times too, and I didn't realize you could be neutral good and chaotic good. I always thought you had to be lawful regardless of what you did.
Yeah, when you started, you originally have to start off as good.
Yeah. But
then you can go neutral or evil with before, I think it's 4th level or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's an interesting class because of the fact that you have to have so many prerequisites, and the prerequisites aren't small. I mean, 15 strength, 15 dexterity, and constitution too.
Yeah.
And then you throw in a 10 and wisdom and intelligence. That's tough to do, especially if you're rolling 3 dice. Straight down. You have to be very lucky.
And you know what else it adds on top of this? The fact that you have to be a proper social class to even be this.
Right.
As well as a certain race. And I remember I had one DM that actually made me roll for social class. Because a lot of the DMs that I played with when I played this class were just like, start at 1st level, just make sure you're human or whatever what the class says. I'm like, all right. But this one DM made me roll and I didn't get the social class high enough. He's like, oh, sorry, you can't play it. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's tough because the social class means something too. And that's up to the DM, I guess. You know, whether they're going to say you were born into that social class or not. Or if he's like, your DM and make your roll, see what happens. But yeah, it's hard to get to be a Cavalier.
I think a lot of DMs just be like, you just be this social class to be in it, because they don't want to deal with you being a 0 level horseman or a retainer for a knight and having to deal with the negative experience points you have to deal with, because that also means that you need, as a DM, to now have an NPC Cavalier in the party.
Exactly.
So your character can become level 1 after going through negative 1,500 experience all the way up to 0. So
yeah, and that's tough.
Yeah, I don't think I think I would probably skip it as a DM. I'd probably be like, just start at level 1.
Yep. I forgot that you had to be a level 0 until I was looking, and it's like, wow, I forgot about that. So that's like I said, the Cavalier is the original prestige class, really.
Yeah. You can only be human, an elf, and a half elf, and that's it.
Right.
And
so it makes it.
I think, half elves can only qualify if they're elves, first of all, can only qualify if they're gray, dark, or high elf stock. and high elves have to come from those distinct noble houses. There's so much to this class that it's just a tough thing to get. And it's kind of like the bard was originally trying to play a bard in the original rules.
Right. Yeah, that's another tough class. But if you could actually become a bard, you've got a really good character there as far as a bad dude.
Yeah.
So
I wonder. So reading this character class continuing along, Cavaliers can only use certain weapons. And any other type of weapon that's not on their approved list, they're just like, I'm not touching that weapon, like a snobby person. But I wonder if this is one of the ways that Gary, when he wrote this in his house rules, because Unearthed Arcana seems like the house rule book of his notebook, if he was like, this is a good balancing issue. It's just like, okay. Yeah. And you can only use like a broadsword, a bastard sword, a lance, a short sword, horseman's mace, horseman's flail, horseman's military pick, daggers, scimitar, and javelin. And anything like considered ranged wise, he would look down upon. You're not allowed to use it because it's not part of the code.
Right.
But did you notice it kind of contradicts itself later on when it says that you're allowed to use the lance off the horse?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't use the two-handed sword, which is shorter than the lance, which is considered a reaching weapon.
You can run them through with the lance, but not a sword.
I was like, wait, you're contradicting yourself there, Gary. You just said he couldn't do that, but now you're saying he can. But it's a lance, so it's fine.
Yeah. It's peculiar how it was written.
Mm-hmm. So the Cavalier is also one of the only classes that actually get a whole bunch of stuff as they level up. Like, not just little things. Like, you get +1 to hit with certain weapons as he moves further up. And you have specialized in certain weapons. And not only does he get that, he gets to attack at higher level than what he normally is. It's just like, just nonstop. This is like, you have this class in your game, and everyone else kind of sucks compared to him, to be honest.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that people probably had a problem with originally is if you got a Cavalier in your party, how do you deal with them? How do you balance encounters for someone that's a Cavalier compared to a regular fighter or a thief or whatever? Because they just can be very overpowering at the time.
Yeah. Well, these qualifications, you probably won't even make it, to be honest, if you're playing fairly.
Yeah. It's very hard to roll that to get the stats that you need. I can't honestly say I've seen it done legitimately with three dice down right down. There's always a modification to do it.
Yeah, I've done it with like 4d6, drop the lowest, put it wherever I want type deal.
Right.
Not
that's
no.
Yeah, that's the only way I've seen it done is with the 4, drop the lowest, put it wherever you want, and go from there.
I do like that the Cavalier, and this, I don't know, I always called this, I like the class, but I don't know why, I always call it a Munchkin class, to be honest, because not only can you get these bonuses to hit, you also, with your weapon of choice, attack 5 levels higher than you actually are.
Yeah.
It's just like it's nonstop for this class. There was another thing that was really cool here that I was thinking. Oh, another thing about Cavalier that I did not remember, and preparing for this podcast and rereading it through like you, I had no idea Cavalier can parry. I didn't even know there was a parry system involved with D&D. Yeah,
it's one of the earliest forms of parry in D&D that I can think of.
Yeah, I don't remember ever seeing parry anywhere. I mean, I've played plenty of Palladium games where there's a parry, there's a dodge.
Right.
But I didn't know that the D&D had a parry system, and I've probably read this class like you 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And didn't really read it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you may have read 20, 30 years ago and thought it was cool, and then now you forgot about it. Mm-hmm. So, because that's the thing. I haven't seen a Cavalier played or touched a Cavalier for probably 30 years.
Yeah.
So
last time I played, I was a paladin, so I didn't even have a choice of Cavalier. Didn't even think about it, to be honest.
Yeah, because your podcast got me thinking about old crazy AD&D stuff, and it's like Cavalier. Now there's one that's crazy because you don't hear that now. There's no such thing as a Cavalier nowadays, and it's one of those things that I pulled it out and looked at it and said, "Wow, this guy is tough to be able to be one." So it's a really cool class in some respects.
Yeah, I mean, if it's played by an experienced role player that's not gonna quote unquote dick around, as some people would say, I think you'd be fine. But if you got one of those people that is a gamer, like a power gamer or a munchkin gamer, you're gonna have a lot of trouble because there's so much that this class can do and abuse the crap out of the game, to be honest.
Yeah.
Let's see here. And also there's certain armors that you can't even wear too. Like you want to have plate mail. Plate mail. And then if I can't have plate mail, I'll have banded mail. If I can't have that, I'll have split mail. Then chain mail, then scale mail, and ring mail. Leather or studded or anything else like that is for peasants and thieves. I would never wear that.
Yeah.
I love, and Gary even added to the fact of, you know what? Chainmail +2 is probably better than your plate mail, but the Cavalier is like, no, I want my plate mail. I do not care. So there's another, I guess, his attempt at balancing the class out, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's the other thing I'm looking at here is that the Cavaliers of good alignment are able to function as a negative hit point totals.
Yes.
That's just crazy. Be able to keep on going. The only thing I can think of that might be close to that would be the Barbarian Rage.
Yeah, Barbarian Rage would allow you to probably do that. But the Cavalier going to negative hit points based, let's see, determined by the hit points at first level, 4 to 13, is the negative number of hit points reached. The Cavalier does not become unconscious, but can further attack. And after that, he must rest, bind his wound, and seek further healing. So not even after the combat's done, he doesn't pass out. He just goes, whew. I need to rest.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that was tough. I need to rest.
I kind of like the idea that a Cavalier walks into a town and he expects full hospitality.
Right.
He's like,
especially
go ahead.
Especially from the other Cavaliers, and I guess that's one thing you look at. Why I guess normal folk or peasants would kind of look at them and they're a jag,
Mm-hmm.
They're not very nice people because they expect such things.
You go into a new city and immediately find the most noble person. I seek refuge in your house. I am of the noble birth. It's like, go away, dude.
Yeah.
Let's see here. There were some other things here. So a Cavalier must serve someone or a cause. And that could be determined by the DM along with the player. And they have some virtues that go along with it. So you could technically be a paladin type like class with this Cavalier. You could be like a Knights of Templar almost, if you think about it. And the paladin is now a subclass of the Cavalier, speaking of them. There are some situations that they talk about enforcing the paladin code. And we'll get to the paladin code in just a minute. But if you do something to break the code, there's a possibility you will not get any experience for the rest of the adventure that you're playing. Or you could be stripped of your nobility, or you could be stripped of the actual class itself.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of stuff that's involved with it.
That's one thing I think that today's D&D is missing is things like that where if you act outside of your alignment or your code of conduct, that you could be stripped of your class or abilities.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I always liked about AD&D is the fact that, especially a paladin, if you step outside of your honor or your alignment, that you would be punished for it.
Exactly. Paladin, cleric, whatever, Cavalier. Yeah. You're punished. You're done. I remember when they first took that away in later editions, I was just like, what?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
No, exactly. I don't remember too much about 5th edition because I've kind of blocked a lot of it out. But I'm sorry, I'm making fun. I'm just teasing. You said you played it recently. What do they do for alignment stuff in that? I don't remember at all.
I think it's up to the DM, but a lot of places that I've seen and what I've read in different forums and stuff is that they don't even use alignment anymore. And like I said, it's up to the DM. And when I DM, I want you to have an alignment. And the party I'm running, I want you to be a good alignment because I want you to go after evil guys. So I don't want an evil aligned character in there with a good party. And I told him that, I'll accept chaotic neutral as the worst. and but I want you to play your alignment too. So think about it. And I still, like I said, I agree with the original AD&D, where a cleric or a paladin playing alignment, if they go outside of that alignment, their deity says, "Hey, I'm not giving you any more spells."
Yep, exactly.
So I think that was a good thing. I think it makes for good role playing.
Yep.
And I think it makes for a good table. It depends on your party, of course, but I always enjoyed it.
Well, when they designed D&D, they were assuming that you're playing heroes, saving the world from the monstrosities out there, killing and slaughtering the monsters, and, becoming legends in a campaign.
Yes.
They didn't expect people to be sitting there playing evil characters, even though the option was there. It's just always assumed that you're good.
Right. And, I mean, you go back to look at the evil races in D&D, and, I mean, there's books like the Dritz Do Under, or however you pronounce it, the Dark Elf, that was a good alignment, and you can make exceptions in your game, sure, right. But generally the Dark Elves or the Drow or whatever were evil. The Orcs are evil. Goblins, Hobgoblins, Kobolds, they're all evil. And as a good aligned party, you go out and fight these things.
Exactly. Yes. I played in one game in a convention where we were all Dark Elves and we were all neutral evil. It took about, I want to say, about an hour before everyone started attacking each other in the party.
Yeah.
It was a convention, so people just rolled with it. But even the DM said, "Yeah, you guys will be attacking each other very shortly," and we're like, "No," and then it happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's going to happen with evil characters. They're not going to trust one another. I mean, there's a common enemy. Maybe they'll be united, but that's not going to last too long.
Right. It'll last as long as the common enemy is still there.
Yeah, and once that's gone, it's just like stab back.
Yep.
Move on.
Yeah.
I did notice that they did, Gary did mention a female Cavalier in here. Did you notice that? At 4th level, a female elven Cavalier, and only female elf, may ride and handle a unicorn steed.
Oh, wow. I missed that one. Where's that at?
Page 15 towards the top, where it talks about mounts that he can use or she can use.
Okay.
It says he or she. Now, traditionally, knights were not women.
Right.
And I'm not being sexist or anything. That's just how it was. So
yes, it's history.
It's history. Now, your game, you do whatever you want.
Right.
The way it's written, it doesn't really say that they can't be. And this is kind of the first part, I'm scanning through now, that he actually mentions, going back to the beginning, Cavalier, they just talked in like a general term. This is the first part that I noticed that he said he or she. Yeah. So that tells me right there that the Cavalier could be a noble birth lady.
Right. And I think that's saying a lot for when this book was put out. I'm not sure when the original was put out. I know I think it's a 5th edition from 87 or a fifth printing rather. Sorry.
85. Yeah. This was an 85 book. Towards
so, end. I think that's pretty open for something like that. You have a Cavalier that can be male or female, and as long as you have the right birth status, which, a lot of people say Gary was sexist, but I think that goes to prove he's really not. It's the way it was back then.
Exactly. And he gave you the option, he or she. And anybody can argue, like you said, he's sexist, but meanwhile, he's telling you right here, women can be Cavaliers. Women can be a knight in shining armor coming to save the day, riding a unicorn.
Yeah, which would be pretty cool to see.
Yep.
Riding a unicorn.
But he only let women ride a unicorn, so.
Yes, that's different. I'm seeing that, I'm just thinking, why are female elves the only one that can ride the unicorn? But I don't know. I'm sure he had a reason for it.
I'm thinking because elves are more with nature and unicorn considered feminine, and I don't know. I'm trying to reach for that one, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but
I'm sure someone out there will comment and tell us. So
please do let us know.
Yeah, write in the comments and let me know. So what is it? Oh, another thing I really liked about the Cavalier, no other class gets this, is the chance to improve your strength, dexterity, and constitution as and level up.
Yeah, no, that is just sick if you ask me, to be able to do that.
Yep. Even if even he says it, even if it violates limits based on race or sex.
Yeah.
So how that works is you must, and since this class is so like overpowering, I as a DM would probably keep tabs on this. Make sure that the Cavalier undergoes continual training and practice when they're not adventuring. So if you're in a campsite and you're breaking camp, you're going for the night, you must say your Cavalier is practicing. That's all I would ask of a player. Oh, my guy, after he's done setting up camp and helping out, he goes to the side and he finds a tree and he practices swordsmanship or something, or his lance or whatever. So he's always in tip-top shape. That's all I would ask of a player. I don't think of anything else. And then since he's doing that, you can, when he levels up, roll 2d10, and that percentile number is added to what you have. So if you have a 1587, for example, because you've rolled an 87, you can add your new score to it and get a 16. It's still treated as a 15 or a 16 regardless. So it only improves.
That's pretty cool, though. Yeah, that's really cool to be able to do that, though. I mean, the fighters could do it, or anybody could do it with the strength of 18 until you get the 18 double odd or whatever. But this, it improves, and you can get to 18 double odd in, your 3 physical abilities, which is really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking about that while you were just mentioning it. And I was like, what if you let the fighter do that or the paladin do that too? But then you're going to have like the magic users and the other classes go, well, what about I get? What about me? It's just like, then just leave it to the Cavalier then. I don't want to deal with it. But it would be a cool thing for having other classes being able to show dexterity and constitution and strength going up like that.
Yeah.
Let's see here. They also they have saving throws as a fighter, but they have an aura of protection of fear around them. Good alignment Cavaliers, that is, so that any of your allies get this protection as well and immune to fear, because they are immune to fear regardless, magical or not.
Right.
And they're
Which
also
is pretty good. If you're facing a dragon or whatever, and they have the aura of fear, and you're immune to it.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Well, there's a reason for that as we get into the code now.
Yeah.
They're not afraid of these powerful monsters such as dragons, demons, or giants because they charge directly at them.
Yes.
Regardless. And where's that one line that he said in here? Here it is. As a result of the code and desire for battle, Cavaliers cannot be controlled in battle situations. Therefore, they will charge an enemy upon sight with following order of preference from, powerful monsters all the way down to peasants, depending how, what they are to him. At full speed, regardless of what plans have been made, knocking people over to get directly to that evil person.
Yeah, so your party has decided, let's try and talk to these guys and see if we can convince them to do things our way. The Cavalier says, nope, I'm charging.
Yeah, he's like,
there
nope,
he goes.
Kill that evil monster, ha ha! And he just charges out.
Yep.
It's like a Leroy Jenkins, man.
Yeah, exactly.
So, these are some of the things that they put in. That's why I was mentioning lawful stupid, because that just doesn't make any sense to me. I get the Cavalier wants to be the ultimate protector, the one that's going to destroy the big bad evil thing, or good thing if he's evil. But your party makes a plan and you're just like, F you, I'm going to charge at it. Too bad. Yeah. Suckers, see you later. Meanwhile, you're the sucker running into battle.
Yeah.
Unless
you have a whole party of
whole party of Cavaliers.
Whole party of Cavaliers, yeah. Can you imagine that? The DM knows exactly what you're doing every time. Forget talking. We're charging.
Yeah, seriously. Just be like, yep, I know what you guys are doing. Roll for initiative.
Yeah.
It's just I guess it's one of those things he did for balancing, but I don't remember knights doing things like that, except in Monty Python, maybe, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's when they become lawful stupid. So
Alrighty. Well, I think we've summed up the Cavalier class pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good rundown of them because, like I said, it's a class that's often overlooked, and for good reasons. In order to become a Cavalier, you have to have the 15s and the 210s, so it makes it very hard to become a Cavalier. But if you are a Cavalier, it's an interesting class, I think, and except for being a little bit of lawful stupid there. So
yeah, definitely. It's just one of those classes that sometimes the DM is going to be like, could you just play a paladin or something?
about a barbarian.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a free 18 if you play a paladin.
Yeah. Yeah, regular paladin's a little easier to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, thank you, DM Rivers, for joining me. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
My
yes,
pleasure.
I appreciate being on here.
You can head over to youtube.com at Rivers RPG channel to check out all the stuff that he is doing. If you want to follow his channel, hit that subscribe button. Throw him a couple likes on his videos, and stay tuned for another podcast as we head out for the evening. And as I always say, keep it original, keep it old school. Good night, God bless, and keep those AD&D fires lit. Good night.